Welcome back to my hardcore Minecraft world. In episode 1 I set a goal to build castles and cities. I built a castle and other structures in this world, but in this episode I want to get started on the first mega build in this hopefully forever world of mine. But in order to make something of this scale I need tools, preferably tools with full durability. So I took myself over to the end so I can get started on an Enderman XP farm. The initial step for this farm was to build out using 2 stacks of leaves to get far enough away from the end island so Endermen would only spawn on the spawning platform for the farm. I started making a 9x9 platform with chests and hoppers for the killing chamber, then I added a roof with 2 tall carpet on top of it. Then I started building up a tower skipping every other block that I think ends up being close to 40 blocks tall. At the top of the tower I started building a massive spawning platform, but I ran out of quartz because for some reason I decided to build this thing with quartz. Every time I try to build a farm, I just do something so stupid. I don't know why I built this thing with quartz. I'm dumb. I'm dumb, okay? While I was collecting more quartz, I saw a bastion, and Wombaat and bastions, it's like a moth to a flame, so of course I had to go over there. So I began carefully taking out enemies, especially piglin brutes, so I can make a safe journey to the chest located in the middle of the room, and it has a very important item in it. Bone blocks. No. This item is a netherite upgrade template, so I could eventually upgrade all my tools and armor to netherite. And also got a free netherite ingot, so that's pretty cool. After the nether trip that took me like 20 minutes, I only had enough quartz to finish another quarter of the spawning platform, so I just conceded and built the other half with end stone bricks. Endermen hate endermites, and so do I, but the next step was to try and spawn one, and it didn't take me too long before one did spawn, and I named him Maurice. And he sat on a carpet, so he can get almost tortured by endermen for the rest of his life. But there we have a very, very fast XP farm, finally in this world. This thing repairs tools so quickly, and I mean these farms are insane, but they're not very easy on the ears. The whole reason for me making the XP farm was to begin terraforming an initial river plan in my starter area, and if you didn't know, I've streamed the creative process for this mega build on my channel, so go check those out if you want to see how I came up with this. I started collecting some materials for the next part of this build, which is going to be a bridge that connects the land going over top of the eventual river. After gathering materials, it was time to start making the bridge to connect the 2 pieces of land. The bridge is built on a 2-block diagonal, and it took me forever to get the bridge design right, so thank you for anybody in the stream chat who helped me out. But it uses all the stone textures I've been using with the light gray wool and deep slate accents for some lighter and dark tones to give it a little bit more age and texture, and I also worked around a little bit with the same block palette and made a little walkway along the side of the river area. And I've done a pretty good amount of building. We have the bridge finished, and this is where the city entrance is going to be. But we have a way down here. This will be like a little fishing dock area. I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to work in on the stone bits of the city and the like road and path part of the city, and then I'm going to work in the actual buildings. I think that'll be the best way to do it. In order to work on the road part of the city, I needed more coarse dirt, so I flew over to an area that had a lot of coarse dirt laying around. But this area has a lot of the materials I need, so I'm just gonna stay over here for a while. Does anybody remember this from episode 1? Because I definitely do. And this world almost just ended. I also gathered up some of the other materials I would need in order to start making actual houses and buildings for the city. While I'm gathering materials in the background, this is a good time to tell you you can become a permanent member of the channel. If you want to become a white sheep, you can get early access to every video that I post and access to a member-only chat room in my Discord. If you become a pink sheep, you can get access to world downloads, every single episode, and whatever schematics you guys want to see from my world. Membership perks are definitely going to be updated over time, so stay tuned for updates. And thank you to all of my current members. Built the path using coarse dirt, but mostly out of mud bricks and brown mushroom. You can kind of see the path outlines where some of the builds will go in the future. I began building up the city entrance. This build uses mostly spruce and dark oak accents, and I'm still not sure what I want this building to be, so comment down below ideas for any of the builds I make in this episode, as most of them don't really have any purpose yet. So I built up where the city entrance is going to be, which is just this building. I'm not exactly sure what this building is yet, and you can see there's no windows, and that's because I need a ton of copper in a lot of the builds that I'm doing. And the best way to get copper is a trial chamber. And funny enough, I've seen this place enough in replay to know that there's a trial chamber literally right under where I'm standing. Also, somebody commented that there was a trial chamber right here, by the way. Somebody commented that, so don't spoil what's over here, but I do already know that there's one over here, so I'm just gonna dig straight down. I know you're not supposed to do this, but we're risking it. No, I'm not gonna risk it. Hey, look, there's copper, and there's the trial chamber. I'm like right along the edge of it, I think. See, I don't know how to kill these things. How do you kill them? Sir? I might have to just pause the game and look up how to kill these guys first. Yeah, that wasn't bad. Yeah, that wasn't bad at all, actually. And it's giving me a baked potato. That's great. I just want to build a city right now, but I need copper, okay? I'm just trying to steal your place of employment. As much as this sucks, it does make me want to use copper more because it is pretty easily accessible now. Like, if I just destroyed an entire trial chamber, I'd probably have enough copper for a few thousand days. I'm just going to be honest. I don't really use copper that much, so this is great. But I will say, you know, this area was very useful. The loot was great. I mean, obviously. But anyways, the whole reason for that little expedition was for windows. Just some windows right here. Yeah, these are going to need to oxidize. After I installed windows, I built a plot of land for the next build. I now have this little section laid out where a house is going to be not really a house, but a shipping yard kind of building right here where the people in the city bring in whatever they want, I guess, whatever shipment comes through. And then there's going to be some barrels and stuff here. But this house is going to be mostly made out of tough, and then it's going to work up into some lighter tones with a dark roof. But right now, I'm just going to go around placing in our tough and then work that up a few blocks. For this build, though, I'm going to need a couple of things. And first, I'm going to need to get some calcite, and I think it's over by the Dwarven Gate. Yeah, I need to get organized in this world. There's no excuse for having chests still over here. I'm so lazy. But hey, I mean, this build is pretty cool, so. I have most of the blocks that I'm going to need, but I do need some light gray concrete powder as well, so I'm going to have to get that. I also need some sand, so I'm just going to go and fly over to the desert and collect some. Actually, why would I need to go to the desert when I can go by these turtles and destroy their homeland? After gathering materials, I used some spruce and jungle logs and extended the build out by a block, and then I started texturing the walls using a mix of calcite, diorite, and some light gray concrete powder. I don't want the city to be meshed together with all the same colors, so the contrast from the dark tone of the last building to the light tone of this building will make the city stand out a little bit more and be easier on your eyeballs. I had to take a little stroll to the nether to get blackstone for the roof, and I used magic powers to make it appear within seconds. No, I'm just bad at this YouTube thing and forgot to press record.
Whoops.
I'm one sign short. Oh my. Now that I have this build done, I want to add a few more windows in here because I think this part of the build is just a little boring. And that's not great, but I think it makes it look a little bit better. And I don't think it looks too bad with the lack of texture, but I'm going to revisit that later on. Because now I have a giant building to go right here. I have a big tower. You're interrupting me, sir. But the next building to go right here will be a tavern with a tower attached to it. So the tower will kind of go right here, and then the tavern will kind of go down here where this dock is. I have to light this area up. Oh my god. That is awful. Bye, little guy. As you can see, I have this area laid out. So this building right here is going to be the tavern, and then this is going to be a tower that is attached to it. But right now, I'm just going to work up with this texturing right here until I have something that I'm happy with. But I couldn't be happy yet because I didn't have enough materials to build. So I took some mud from the mangrove swamp for the packed mud that I needed. And I'm assuming I can find a village over here. In fact, I'm pretty sure I just found one, and they should have hay bales, which means I can just directly make packed mud while I'm here. And also collect a bunch of sugarcane because I'm going to be low on rockets, and I don't have a paper farm because I'm lazy and I don't feel like making it. They actually just made camels spawn naturally in the desert, which I think is cool. Then I began clearing out the rest of the trial chamber for the copper that I would need for the roof of this build. To start this tavern build, I built up the rest of the foundation and started working on the walls. For the walls, I wanted an oak trim that alternated with a lighter smooth sandstone texture for that medieval look that I was going for. The copper grate block is one of my favorite windows now, so I decided to use that again for this build. I also included some spruce signs around the base of the build to split the harsh transition from spruce and oak to the sandstone, which makes the bottom part of the walls look a little bit better. I added in some details to the windows and began working up with the copper roof, and this is one of my favorite builds in this entire city, as I absolutely love the block palette for it. I have pretty much completed the main build for right here. I just have to craft up some gray candles. That's a lot of gray dye. I don't think I need that many. So now I have 23 gray candles, which are just going to go at the top of this build, back and forth between gray candles and stone buttons to see what this looks like. Definitely crafted too many gray candles, but you can kind of see it on the top of the build. I think it looks pretty cool up there, but that's what the build looks like. I think it's pretty cool. The one thing I do think I want to change is the gray windows and make them oxidized to that level instead of the main, like the fully oxidized. I personally don't like the fully oxidized without a little bit of texture, so I think that ends up looking better for the windows. After installing windows again, I started building the tower using the same block palette we had on the second building I made. But I mixed in some lighter birch wood for some birch wood accents, and I really like what I did with the window frames, as I put some slabs behind them to give them a better looking shape, and I think it works really well. I added in the deep slate tile roof and topped the tower off with a nice little thing at the top, which takes us over to the next building, which is a fishing dock. But for that I needed clay for bricks, and to get clay I needed to repair my shovel. This took me on a trip to the lush cave, as it has a ton of clay. I also need drip leaf, and I'm pretty sure there's some down here. Yeah, there's just a little bit down here. Now the only bad thing is I have a bunch of clay, not clay balls, because I have soak touch. I don't really want balls. I want balls, not full clay blocks. So I'm just gonna quickly make a normal shovel that doesn't have soak touch on it, and then collect clay balls. No pale oak. Sorry, buddy. They died so fast. Oh my god. That was awful. That was actually awful. You know what's also awful? Not giving me pale oak. Well, it's time to get some balls, though. This build will be split up into two separate buildings. The first one is closer to the river and it uses a mud and dripstone base, where the other building uses a mix of brick, granite, and rooted dirt. I guess the lore behind these buildings is the first house that's closer to the river collects and sells fish individually, but the brick building sells fish as more of a restaurant and dine-in experience. I wanted to put a bakery here, but it would just smell like fish constantly, and I don't want to go to a bakery that smells like fish. I don't know about you guys. But that leads us to the roof on top of this building, which is just mangrove with some dark oak trim underneath it. I realize there's a lot of time lapses in this video so far, and I think the big reason for that is just I was trying to get through this as quick as possible because we have a lot to do in this video. For future videos, I would like to go more in depth about the building process while I'm currently building instead of doing it in post. Especially when I have a lot to do in a video, it's hard to really think about stuff like that. For the dock building though, I made a trim out of loom blocks that split up the dripstone and packed mud perfectly from the oak and jungle I used at the top. I also used mossy stone brick and tuff for the roof that I really enjoy. And the other building has some nice seating around it, and in my opinion this area feels pretty cozy. Now I finally have this like fishing shop building done. There is definitely some extra details that I have to work on, definitely. I want to add like a little crane right here, and then I noticed that this wall I just didn't texture or add anything, so I'm just gonna add a little balcony right here. Yeah, I kind of like that over here instead of it just being a plain wall. I'm going to go ahead and skip this building for now because I don't have a design for it. But I am going to start working on a building that sits right here. There's like two of them kind of attached to each other with a little walkway that goes through here into another space. So that's what I'm going to be working on right now. But before I could start working, I had to do a little bit more material gathering. To start off this build, I want to do a tough base that's about 12 blocks long and then 7 blocks wide, with a little bit of it sticking out like this, and then I'm going to connect it back to the front. And then it'll be about this tall, so I'm going to work up the tough going all the way up. But it looks like I ran out of tough, so I'm going to have to go get some. Another trip to this really bad mine. Now that I have the tough in, I want to add these jut out bits on the front of it to give it a little bit more depth, and then go up with some white concrete and diorite. And because I'm going to put windows here, I want to put in some cherry leaves with some dark oak signs going around it just to give it a little bit more texture. And I'm going to keep going up with our diorite and white concrete. And I'm also going to mix in some birch for a little bit of darker tones because of the black spots in it. From a distance, it does a good job of creating shadows. I also added in a few more details to the windows, and I used orange stained glass just because that was what was laying around. I then started finishing up the build by adding some andesite and light gray concrete powder to the second floor and a polished deep slate roof with a dark oak trim around it. And this build is very, very simple. It's mostly just used to take up space in the city, as it isn't really anything that stands out too much. Now this other building is laid out, but I do kind of want to use coral for the base, and I don't really have enough to do that. So I'm going to go over to the coral reef biome to get that. Oh my god. And it's my favorite pastime, destroying a bunch of aquatic animals' homeland. I'm back with a bunch of coral, and look how much sugarcane I got. Like, who needs a sugarcane farm when you can just go to a desert and get 2 stacks? Definitely gonna build a sugarcane farm soon, though, so don't worry about it. So I'm gonna probably do, like, that type of gradient on it, mixing in some cobblestone and stuff as well. Mix in a little bit of gravel, and then work in from the horn coral. And then you can just go up with the fire coral like this, and then add some of the brain coral like that. And that should be a pretty cool gradient. Coral is definitely a really good block to texture with. So I began working around the base of the build with the coral blocks, mixing in a little bit of mossy cobblestone and normal cobblestone as well. And then the second floor I worked up with mud brick, and then did a mix of jungle wood until I reached the roof, which I just did a deep slate tile roof. And then I added these really cool copper grate windows to the top of it that I just enjoy. I enjoy using that block so much. It's just such a good block. I don't know. It's probably my favorite block in the game right now. And after that last bit of detail, I'm pretty sure I have this build complete, other than the windows that I just for some reason forgot to add. And I also realized a little bit ago that I haven't added chimneys to most of these builds, so that's something that I can definitely go in later and do, is add some chimneys, but that's not a huge concern. The concern is this building doesn't have any windows, and I'm just going to add those real quick, and then we will be done with this small area. But this area is coming together. The city, I think, is starting to look pretty nice. It's going to be pretty big if he has pale oak, alright? You're really cutting it close, dude. If you don't have pale oak, you're dead. Well, I don't see pale oak in here. Those eyeballs look desperate. Sorry, buddy. Hey, you guys aren't safe. You guys aren't safe. Sorry. Sorry about it. So the city's going pretty well right now. To connect these two buildings, I built a bridge over top of them, and this addition makes this build one of my favorites. I just think it completes these two buildings perfectly. The next step of the city was to expand the path through the other buildings that I just created, so I grabbed some more coarse dirt. I just found the chicken that's on top of the world. Actually, all these animals. Why are they all up here? What is happening? Is there like a party going on? Is there like a cult up here? Why is there so many animals? Dude, get out of my way. You know what? I don't really like cows that much. What do you think? Sheep, should I kill the cow? Oh no. Oh no. Sheep, no. No chicken. Alright, well, it's time to get building some more. I got coarse dirt. I just wanted to work on the path a little bit more and expand the coarse dirt this way so I can begin putting more buildings over here, right where these lava lakes are. And as far as the interaction with the chicken, I don't really tolerate sheep violence or any attacks on sheep people, and I think that's what that was. I think that was attempted murder. Enough with the animal violence, because it's time to build a candle shop. I decided to go with a completely different style for this building. It has more of a gothic, older type of architecture to split up from the other buildings. I'm not a massive fan, but I think it works. And there is a tiny candle shop. I'm going to make another building with this similar style right here, and it's going to be dedicated to pink sheep, but I'm not going to get to that yet. But this is the candle shop. I textured it up, added some cool mangrove looking windows, added some candles into the front windows. I'm going to have to remove this lava lake here. It's so loud when you're in the inside of this building, which is incredibly tiny, by the way. It's going to be a very, very small interior, but I think I could do something pretty cool with it. Being limited to just a tiny amount of space, I think I can do something in here that's pretty cool. Now I think I'm going to get started on a couple of buildings that are right here, but I think there is a little bit of terraforming that I'm gonna have to do, or maybe not, I don't know. So I'm gonna collect some materials for that, and then I'm gonna get started on that build. This building is really the beginning of a market center, so I'm going to work on two buildings right here to serve as shops for the city. This first building, like a lot of the other buildings, uses tuff for the base, this time switching it up with tough bricks. Then I worked up with mangrove and strip spruce. And the third floor of this building is textured with brick and granite, and then I added a roof that had a spruce trim with tough brick for the actual roof. This build might feature too much tough, but that's tough, I guess. Haha. For the second building, I used stone bricks for the base and a mix of oak logs and jungle logs for the second floor, also including in a composter trim. But to complete the rest of this build, I had to get some more jungle wood and brown terracotta, which took me close to the desert, and I was seeking out an enchanted golden apple. And I actually found one. Then I completed the rest of the details for the third floor, which was just a brown terracotta and soul sand variation. The two blocks don't blend together perfectly, but I think it still works. And now we have 2 more builds for the city. I now have these 2 buildings done. I like the way these turned out. They are going to be little market buildings. As you can tell by this big window, there's going to be a couple awnings there. But this next building is special. It is very, very special. This is going to be a building dedicated to pink sheep. It's going to be like a little place of worship because pink sheep is a god in this world. Okay, so I'm going to make a place of worship, but I'm going to have to go over to the iron farm to get some poppies to make some pink dye. There is not a single piece of iron in here, so that's pretty cool. And this is a problem for a future episode. Maybe I'll make a different iron farm. I'm also going to head on over to the bee farm because I need a ton of pink candles. And hopefully this farm isn't broken. It shouldn't be. Nope, doesn't look broken to me. About that many pink candles. That should work. Candles are a great decorative block if you need a little bit of texture on some builds. See, I used them over there. Used them in the candle shop windows, of course. And then now I'm going to use them for this one as it has a very similar style to the candle building. Actually, pretty much the same style as the candle building, just on a larger and much more detailed scale. And while I dedicate this build to pink sheep, I have something very special up here because this is, I'm going to highlight how unorganized I am even more. Look at this. I still have these chests from when I built the castle, like hundreds of days ago, but there is something special in here. Pink wool. You know whose wool that is? It's pink sheep. I have a piece of pink sheep right here. I'm going to find a use for this pink wool. If you have any ideas for this pink wool, just comment down below because this is the last physical bit of pink sheep that exists in this world. This pink sheep building is serving as a place of worship for the people who live in this valley, as I want to add some lore to this world finally, and the initial lore is going to be centered around pink sheep. As you all know, or maybe don't know, pink sheep died. Well, it's a controversial topic on why or how or who did it. I think the people of this world see him as more of a godly or divine figure now, so certain groups of people in this world pray to pink sheep, as even his vibrant color spreads life throughout this empty world. And I would like to add more lore to this world, and I think the next few episodes will definitely be a start to that, as I would love to add a source of good in this world and also a source of evil, as I don't really see a lot of other channels doing that, and I think it can create some pretty cool build opportunities. Now that we have a pretty cool design for this building, I want to add in some pink windows and then some pink glass that kind of goes down and gives it that pink look that we want. Now with most of this building done, I'm just going to go through and add the pink that I was talking about on these sides to kind of have it drooping down like that. See if that's too much. I think that looks pretty good. And there we have a pretty cool pink sheep themed building in this world. I'm just going to fly around and see what it looks like. Definitely going to do an interior for this building. I'm not sure about the interiors of other buildings, but I think it looks pretty cool. But I am pretty happy with this build. Oh my god. I don't know why that scared me so bad. I'm watching like true crime right now, and like any interaction with any mobs is just, it's freaking me out, dude. I don't know if you guys ever watch scary stuff and then play Minecraft. It's so scary. Also, what was that guy's outfit? And there we have a door, and the building is pretty much complete. But I am really excited to get into this part of the city. So let's get started. To get started, I want to create a 7x9 building right here. But I'm going to do this and then work it up 2 layers tall. But now I'm going to start working up with some granite and packed mud for some shadows, because packed mud and granite kind of blend in well together, so I'm just going to do that. But it's not going to be super tall, so that's where it is, and I'm going to mix in the packed mud. And I forgot a little bit of rooted dirt as well could be mixed in, because it mixes in very well with granite, just like that. And if you're wondering why the build is only a little L shape, it's because there is a building or a tower that goes right here, and then a building that attaches to it right here. This is going to be a very small building, but these other ones will kind of tower over it. But I'm going to go up with a polished andesite variation, kind of like this, to create a border and support, kind of like what I did with that building. And I'm going to go up with some polished andesite stairs and create a little outline of a roof. This building is very small, and honestly, this is probably the building I'm least happy with in this entire city. I might honestly blow this thing up with TNT at some point. Now that we have this building done, it's time to work on the tower that'll sit right here. And for this tower, I'm going to use a mix of the stone blocks, kind of what we did in this area. I'm going to start off with some andesite and then mix in some lighter tones and then go in with the coral and then use a little bit of acacia and then some deep slate at the top. And then I'm going to work up with a polished andesite trim similar to what I did on the top of this building. So I can work up a little bit like this with some of the andesite and then go back with the polished andesite like this. Then I can go up with some of the acacia with some tuff and then go back with some of the coral that we used. On a large scale, once we work up every little bit of detail, it'll look pretty nice. I worked up with the same texturing and added in some brown tones at the top of the tower using a mix of dirt and brown concrete powder with a composter trim as well. Now we have the tower added and I think it looks pretty cool. I definitely like the texturing that I did. And to save materials, I've been trying to go with easier blocks to get, but I think it turned out pretty nice. This next building is using a completely different color palette as I'm trying to mix in different colors while not going super vibrant or crazy with it, and this light blue terracotta does just that. And in hindsight, I would love to add more details to each of these buildings and houses, but when you're focused on a bigger goal like an entire city, it's easy to opt for less detailed buildings, at least at first, and maybe over time I'll detail them more. When you're focused on one building, it's easy to detail it a bunch. But with an entire city in mind, I skip over some of the extra bits, at least for now. But I do like the detail I put into this tower. I put some candles on top of chains. I saw this on Pinterest and I thought it looked pretty interesting. There's somebody under these stairs. Does he have pale oak? Oh no, the skeleton's hitting the llama. Okay. Does he have pale oak? What? He has pale hanging moss. You know what? That's good enough this time. And now this building is done, and I'll admit this is not the best angle for the building. Just the basic building I think is pretty cool, especially with another tower being built in. I realize I'm jumping around in this video a lot, and I also realized I didn't record the first half of this tree, but here we are putting a tree in the middle of that market center because I think it just fits the area quite nicely. After the tree, I began building some market stalls for the city. I wanted to use pale oak for these market stall tarp things, but I've decided to just never seek out a pale oak biome until a wandering trader gives me a pale oak sapling, just to see how long that bit goes. But these market stalls offer a pop of color and can explain where the people in the city hang out and do all of their shopping. At some point, the buildings in this area will have specific shops inside of them, but I'm not going to do interiors this episode. But now we move over towards the front of the city to finally work on this plot that I've neglected the entire video. This building is going to be a tailor shop or like clothing shop. Initially, I wanted to put a flower shop here, but I decided to put something a little bit more useful as it is in pretty much the front of the city and is the first building you see when you enter this section of the city. But it offers a pop of color with the cherry wood accents, and in general, I'm very happy with the shape of this building. But I finished this building off with a roof, and I just like the way that I use a mix of different types of wood and the beehive base. I think this building does a pretty good job in this area. And I have this building done. I've also done a little bit of detailing around this area. As you can see, I've added a little bit of crops down here, added a little garden right here towards the entrance, and have detailed up a little bit of this fishing dock as well. And if I go over here, I've also added an interior to this building that I really enjoy. This is the storage building that I might actually use because I need a good storage building. I don't really have one. I've also added like these cool little lanterns around the place. Don't mind that. And also I've done a lot to this area, adding in a bunch of greenery over here and fixing up these market stalls a lot. And I've thought about it a little bit. And I'm going to keep these two builds in the video, but I'm going to remove them at some point. I'm not happy with this building or this building. I've done work to this one. I do like this one enough to keep it, but I'm not in love with it. And in general, I'm a perfectionist, and I don't like a lot about this city right now, but I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to keep working on it, because this is a big project. And if I don't like stuff now, it can always be changed. There is a building here, though, that I'm going to work on, and I love it, and I'm very excited to build it, but it's going to just be another time lapse, I think, because this video is taking forever. Now we enter the final stretch of building, and this first building is built on a diagonal as it fits the space very well. It uses brick for the base. I also put this really nice balcony onto it and did this little mangrove jet out bit. In the balcony, I used copper grates because what else would I use? And then I added a roof for the balcony, and that's really all there is to this building. As you can see from the back, I didn't do that. I didn't do the back of it. This next building is something that I am so happy with, as I love the coloring I did for the base, mixing in a bunch of different materials and blocks. And again, the copper grate windows are perfect for this build. I used some of the same blocks for the second floor that I did for the last building, using a mix of diorite, bone blocks, sandstone, and birch and oak wood. And after I put the roof on this building and I did the final touches, I just love the way this area looks now. And these two corner buildings that I just made do so much for the overall vibe of the city, and I could not be happier with these buildings. And this is definitely my favorite part of the city. I love this building so much, especially that thing on the front. It's going to be a very cool plant shop greenhouse thing. It definitely makes the city like 10 times cooler, especially going on this street right here. I love it so much. Except this ugly thing. And with a little bit of decorating around here, the city is pretty much complete now. It's not complete. It's obviously not complete, but for this episode it is. There's some things that need to be worked on, like this. There's going to be more buildings right here. And I filled this in because there's going to be a start of a river, which is going to be a future episode, which I'm not happy to do, but I am happy to do it. Anyways, I'm just going to do a quick fly around and see the city. I think it looks very, very cool. But now we have one more thing to do, and that is fish for an enchanted book. And I also have to name the mending book. Yeah, I don't remember where I put my fishing rod, I'm going to be honest. There it is. So let me name the book first, and then I'm going to go fishing for the new book. If you didn't know by now, if you go to the description of this video and fill out this Google form with a book name, you can be randomly selected and be a part of this world forever, as eventually I'm going to put every single book into a massive library. By the way, there was 102 responses. Some of that is because I forgot to remove them from last episode, so there's 102 responses. So thank you for anybody who submitted a book name. And it is Jermaine Lamar Cole, so J. Cole has a book in my world, so thank you for submitting that, J. Cole. I'm glad you watch my videos, but now J. Cole is going to be stuffed in a bookshelf for the eternity of this world, so thank you for submitting that. Oh wait, no, it's episode 7. But now it is time to fish for the new book. See what you guys can name this episode. That means I can go to my lily pads right here by these salmon and catch a book. Hopefully it doesn't take 3 hours like it did last time. I got it. I finally got the enchanted book. It's Bane of Arthropods 4, the best book in the game. If you want to name it, just submit the Google form, like I said earlier, and you can become a part of this world. But that'll be the end of this episode. I think it was a pretty nice episode. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and be back in a couple weeks to watch the next episode. Yep, have fun.